Hey Chief, lately I've been playing a lot of Helldivers, and I was there at the failure of taking Cyberstan, supporting the safe extraction of the 77th Seaf, and just doing what the Major Order tells me to do, and anywhere Lady Liberty requires me. As I was playing in the recent times, I had a thought hit. Us Helldivers are just becoming one-man armies. Honestly, I feel as though we are moving away from what Helldivers are supposed to be. This game is supposed to be a team strategy game, supporting fellow Helldivers in our hellish endeavors. What I'm basically trying to say is I wish we had more of a team play focus and fire teams. Helldivers wearing other support or ammunition packs for someone carrying an autocannon or the recoilless rifle. I don't think Arrowhead is forcing this, and it's more so the players and community ourselves and knowing what is meta, especially at higher levels, and we're moving away from that team play idea. And I just wish we would see Arrowhead give more of an incentive to help each other out, instead of splitting off and doing the objectives ourselves, or doing things by ourselves when we have a group of 4 in total. And I think a really good thing that I've seen is the addition of the Bastion tank. I have really enjoyed that thing. I think it's very well utilized, but it is difficult to use, especially with the lack of communication, It's difficult to use it in spaces that are quite tight, and even it's just difficult on open areas just because the terrain is just so rough. But I think it's a very good step in the direction of seeing more team-oriented stratagems, and I think it's just a very good thing that we're seeing things move more towards a team focused stratagem. And I think diving more into the idea of team play, in my personal idea of what it looks like, it would look like a fire team of 4 people that have different roles of what they are handling in certain situations. A handful of roles come to mind. You have a gunner, you have a demolitionist, you have anti-armor, engineer, supplier, anti-infantry. Those are just some of the ideas that just come to mind, and I think most people understand what I'm getting at with that idea. And like I said, it's just my opinion, and I was just curious to see what other people think of that. And recently, with the invasion of Cyberstan, and its recent failure, another few things I have noticed is, I don't know if it's just me or what, but I just feel like I'm terrible with the autocannon for some reason. I don't know if it's the actual stratagem itself or what, or if I'm just using it incorrectly, but it just does not feel as strong as it should be. And in no way am I saying that the autocannon should one-shot heavy armor or anything like that, but I just wish it did slightly more damage, especially for the armor piercing rounds. And if I am using it wrong, I would like to know, or if most people feel this way. But that was just something I kind of felt and noticed. I don't know if it's the same with other people, like I said. And another thing I thought about, I was because I was joking around in a few matches, taking the one true flag stratagem, and I was I feel like this could actually have a really good benefit if it were to have a buff, in the sense that if you bring it and you're carrying it around, surrounding fire team members will get a buff when they're close by to the one true flag, or when it's planted or something like that, so that you have a reason to carry it around and even just have it with you. And I'm talking maybe in a certain radius around the flag, you do more damage. It provides more of a damage resistance, just something that buffs the team members in its radius. And even that, going back to what I was talking about with different roles, someone could have a role as a commander, have a final stand in that sense, with this flag that is giving a boost to surrounding players. Yeah, as I said, I just think the flag should be more of a utilized stratagem if it were to get that kind of buff, where you carry it, you wave it, plant it, whatever, you get a slight buff or a buff of some kind to surrounding players, so that, I don't know, because I know this community likes to roleplay a lot, and right now it's just for those people that like to mess around with this stratagem and just bring it in just because they feel bringing it in. It could really help those people that like to roleplay in this type of regard, where they take the flag and they're just this like frontline commander waving the flag back and forth, you know, taking it into battle while giving an actual legitimate buff to surrounding players. Now, I know I am going beyond what I was originally wanting to speak about, but I am still waiting for a stratagem to enter the game, an energy-based machine gun. A stratagem that is a machine gun that uses a backpack slot, somewhat like the maxi gun, I think, but the backpack itself serves as a cooling pack. The heat builds up on the weapon somewhat fast, but has a mediocre magazine size. But if the pack overheats, either it explodes or the battery is just completely burned through and can't be replaced, thus making the player to like call in another energy MG. And whether it can be medium or heavy armor penetrating, I feel like depends on its heat, just like the double-edged sickle, I think. That's just a stratagem I'm waiting for. I keep going into things I wish I could see in this game, but like another thing I wish I'm waiting for is a spider terminid. I spoke about this idea a while ago in another video from like 2 years ago or something at this point, but this entity would just be like a large spider, just like kind of like Shelob from Lord of the Rings, and it just has this giant nest covered in spider webs, and maybe it's like sitting high up at the ground, or it's like, or maybe it's like those like trapdoor spiders, I don't know, just something crazy like that, you know. And like around the map there's like spiderweb traps where like if you hit it, it like sends a signal to the spider somewhere in the map. Like I think I don't want to have like too many spiders. There should be like 1 or 2 in the entire map, right? But like it sits there and lies in wait for either someone to step on the trap door or come close to its nest or something like that, or hit one of these spiderweb traps, right, sending the signal to the spider, and the spider just starts hunting them down from across the map or something crazy, like just some ambush predator type of thing. And like, you know, either it hunts down the player like entirely, or like it like webs someone up like Frodo and like drags them away, creating that like separation from the rest of the team type of thing. Like a person gets webbed up and they're dragged away. Terrifying, in my opinion. Lastly, I really want trench warfare, or something more like frontlines warfare, or fighting with Seif, because we always hear about like the things that they're doing for us without our support, yet they support us. And I think it'd just be more interesting to fight on the front lines and have like really big missions in that way. With like the recent like leak of like the World War I bond that I recently saw, I really think it'd be a lot of fun to have some sort of trench warfare that's like a defense mission that we usually have, but just a different variation of it. Like imagine there's a no man's land that lays quiet just in front of your nose, and all of a sudden, through this fog and smoke, you hear a robotic whistle followed by a red flare flying high into the sky. You hear the metallic marching and the red raging eyes in the smoke of the no man's land, and a charge is headed your way. You know, and you're like prepared to fight, you know, like you're here to make a stand, fight in this trench, you know, of this charge coming your way. Anyways, I just wanted to pop in, say tally ho chief, and yeah, let me know what you think.